Hey guys, my name's Ryan. I'm an industrial refrigeration tech. Come join me to learn about industrial refrigeration. Hey guys, Ryan here again. Today we're going over some oil pot stuff. I'd like to kind of go over, this is one of the more dangerous things that we actually do out in the field, because there are times that we will valve some liquid off in a certain area to build a little pressure to push some of this oil through there. So let's go through some of this. So when I show up on a job site, the first thing that I do is I walk around to every oil pot and see how full it is. So you'll see an ice line. This top piece will typically be iced up. If it is not and it's all thawed out, this is all oil. Wherever there's ice up on your oil pot, there is ammonia in there. So one of the first things that I do as I walk through, depending on how much ice and how much oil is in there, I will valve off valve 1, which is our liquid feed going down into this oil pot. I will let that sit for at least until lunchtime before I even touch it. Now, certain times I'll take if there is some ice on it, depending on how much ice is on it and what temperatures and pressures this oil pot is on, I will run, or I will take a hose and spray it down and get this ice to boil off. I leave this open so that any of this liquid ammonia can still vent off into the tank or into the vessel. But this we're not adding any extra liquid ammonia into that oil pot. So I'll let that go for the good part of the day with the liquid off. And as this ammonia boils off, you'll see the ice will start to melt off of it. And then I will go into draining down this oil pot. Right before I go to drain that oil pot down, I will close this valve off as well. So valve 2, I will close that one off. So you could still have some liquid and vapor and oil all in this area. So that's why this is kind of a dangerous thing to do. So depending on what your pressures are, this is your drain over here, and you'll have a valve and then you'll have your dead man. So I use my dead man to open wide open, and then I'll use this valve right here and I'll throttle it. It might be an 1/8 turn, it might be a 1/4 turn, depends on what my pressure is and what type of oil and what it's kind of like in there. So any of that pressure pushes this oil out. You capture it into buckets typically. It could be a really stinky process. I have some footage of that. So as you get that boiled off and pushed out of there, it leaves more room for oil to come out of, or to catch more oil from the system. So if you start pulling too much oil, or that there's a lot of oil in the system, or you're adding a lot of oil to the system, that can mean that there are some problems in there that you're going to have to reassess, and you might have to look into. Sometimes older systems, you might pull a lot of oil out of them if they were neglected for a little portion of time, and coalescers weren't done and it was pushing some oil. You might collect some oil in these oil pots, and as you do, you want to make sure that you're taking records of it. So I have some videos for this of me draining some oil pots, and that'll be attached to that. But this was kind of requested to do an oil pot. If there's any questions, please comment. Thanks again. Enjoy the video.